Welcome to Audiobook Bay. Today we're exploring The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason, a timeless masterpiece of financial wisdom disguised as ancient parables. Originally published in 1926, these stories remain the most practical introduction to wealth building for beginners. The Richest Man in Babylon teaches that financial success is not about earning a huge income. It is about building the right habits regardless of how much you earn. A person making $10,000 per year can become wealthy. A person making $100,000 per year can remain broke. The difference is discipline. The book frames financial wisdom through stories of ordinary people in ancient Babylon who became wealthy through applying simple principles. These principles transcend time and economy. They remain as relevant today as in ancient times because human nature does not change. Takeaway 1. Pay yourself first with 10% of everything you earn. This is the foundational principle that separates wealth builders from everyone else. Before paying rent, bills, or anything else, 10% of income goes into a fund for yourself. This fund compounds and eventually generates passive income. Most people unconsciously assume they are paying themselves. They keep whatever remains after spending. This thinking guarantees financial mediocrity. The wealthy reverse this. They pay themselves first, then budget around what remains. This single reframing changes the entire trajectory of financial life. Starting with 10% seems small, but compound returns turn small amounts into significant wealth over decades. A person earning $30,000 annually investing $3,000 per year at 10% returns has $2 million in 40 years. That is not theoretical. That is mathematical certainty. Your action: starting next paycheck, transfer 10% of gross income to a separate savings account before spending anything. Treat this transfer as non-negotiable. Takeaway 2. Increase income by increasing your value to others. Earning more money is not about luck or inheritance. It is about developing skills and knowledge that others will pay for. The Richest Man in Babylon illustrates this through the story of a scribe who studied mathematics and became valuable to the king. Every increase in income begins with an increase in your usefulness to the economy. When you become genuinely scarce, meaning fewer people have your skills, you command higher compensation. Investment in your capability is the highest return investment available. This return comes with no downside risk because the skill cannot be taken from you. The person earning $10,000 annually can increase this through deliberate capability building. Learn a valuable skill. Develop expertise. Become indispensable in your domain. The market rewards scarcity with premium compensation. This is available to anyone with discipline. Your action: identify one skill that would increase your earning power significantly. Commit to developing it over the next 12 months. Takeaway 3. Budget ruthlessly to live within your means. Budgeting is not about deprivation, it is about intentionality. The Richest Man in Babylon teaches that even the wealthy must budget. Without a spending plan, money evaporates on non-essentials regardless of income. The difference between the wealthy and everyone else is not income, it is budgeting discipline. The wealthy know exactly where every dollar goes. They make deliberate choices rather than reactive spending that feels good temporarily but destroys long-term wealth. This is not deprivation, it is power. When you control your spending, you control your destiny. Budgeting reveals where your money actually flows. Most people would be shocked at the total they spend on small habits: coffee, subscriptions, impulse purchases. These individually seem small, but annually they total thousands. The ruthless budgeter eliminates these leaks and redirects cash toward wealth building. Your action: document all spending for 1 month. Identify the 30% of spending that creates the least value and eliminate it. Takeaway 4. Avoid debt that does not generate income. The Richest Man in Babylon distinguishes between good debt and bad debt. Good debt is money borrowed to purchase income-generating assets, like land that produces crops. Bad debt is borrowing to consume cars, vacations, luxury goods that lose value. Debt for consumption transfers your future earnings to your past consumption. This is financial suicide. The essentialist approach to debt: Borrow only for assets that will generate more than the interest cost. A business loan for expansion might cost 5% and generate 20% returns. That is good debt. A consumer loan for a luxury watch costing 10% annual interest generates 0% return. That is bad debt. You can pay interest forever while the asset loses value. The wealthy are ruthless in avoiding consumer debt. Your action: calculate all current debt and categorize it as income-generating or consumptive. Create a plan to eliminate consumptive debt within 2 years. Takeaway 5. Seek advice from people who have succeeded with money. This is deceptively simple but rarely practiced. Most people seek financial advice from those struggling financially. The Richest Man in Babylon emphasizes learning from those who have achieved what you desire. Advice is a commodity. Its value depends entirely on the source. Would you take exercise advice from someone unfit? Financial advice from someone broke? Of course not. Yet people do exactly this constantly. They ask broke friends about investing. They follow financial advice from media personalities who are not wealthy. They trust guidance from people who have never built anything. The wealthy seek advice from the wealthy. They study what others have done, replicate the principles, and adapt them to their circumstances. This dramatically accelerates learning and results. Your action: identify 3 people who have built genuine wealth. Read their books, follow their advice, study their decisions. Learn from abundance, not scarcity. Takeaway 6. Grow wealth through ownership, not employment. Employment trades time for money. Ownership of assets trades money for ongoing income. The Richest Man in Babylon teaches that sustainable wealth comes from owning productive assets, not selling time. At some point, your employed income will plateau. There are only so many hours in a day, and you are only one person. This does not mean you must quit your job. It means you must simultaneously build a portfolio of income-generating assets. Real estate, businesses, creative work, these are the wealth-building vehicles available to everyone. They free you from the constraint of trading time for money. The wealthy person has multiple income streams. One is employment. Others are ownership. This portfolio approach to income provides security and accelerates wealth because the asset streams compound while you continue earning employment income. Your action: with the 10% you pay yourself, invest in one income-generating asset within the next year. Start small if necessary. Takeaway 7. Protect your wealth through insurance and diversification. The Richest Man in Babylon includes stories of people who lost fortunes through foolish risk. Wealth building requires both aggressive growth and defensive protection. The wealthy diversify. They do not risk everything on one opportunity. Insurance is boring. Insurance is not exciting. Insurance is also how the wealthy stay wealthy. By hedging against catastrophic loss, you protect your accumulated assets and your income-generating capacity. A house fire, health crisis, or business disaster can erase years of accumulation if unprotected. Diversification means you do not have all savings in one asset class. Your wealth spans real estate, stocks, bonds, cash, business. If one declines, others remain intact. This boring approach to risk is what separates long-term wealth from gambling. Your action: audit your current insurance coverage. Identify gaps in protection and fill them. Protect your wealth against unlikely but catastrophic events. Takeaway 8. Delay gratification to fund future security. Modern culture encourages immediate consumption. The Richest Man in Babylon teaches the opposite. People become wealthy by delaying consumption until they have secured their financial future. Then they can consume freely. This is not deprivation, it is sequencing. The wealthy person delays gratification during the accumulation phase. They drive practical cars while building assets. They live in modest spaces while accumulating. Once passive income exceeds living expenses, they can upgrade, but they never reverse the order. Delayed gratification is psychologically difficult in a culture promoting immediate consumption. This is also why most people never build wealth. The exception is the person who delays consumption 15 to 20 years to fund decades of consumption later. That is the trade-off. Your action: Identify one luxury you desire. Delay purchasing it for 1 year and invest the cost instead. Revisit the decision annually. Takeaway 9. Money multiplies through investment and compound returns. The Richest Man in Babylon emphasizes that invested money grows without your effort. This is the power of compound returns. $1 invested at 10% annual returns doubles in 7 years, then doubles again in the next 7 years. After 42 years, it becomes $128. Most people underestimate how powerful compound returns become over decades. The difference between investing $10,000 at age 25 versus age 35 is extraordinary. Start early, be consistent, and compound returns become your greatest asset. This is not magic, it is mathematics. Time is the greatest variable in compound returns. The person who starts investing at 25 has decades for compounding. The person who starts at 35 has only decades. The gap grows exponentially, not linearly. Your action: calculate how much you need to invest monthly to reach your wealth goal. Start immediately, even if the amount is small. Takeaway 10. Teach your children these principles so wealth endures across generations. The Richest Man in Babylon emphasizes that families become wealthy not through inheritance, but through teaching financial principles. A child who understands these habits will build wealth regardless of starting capital. Conversely, a child who inherits wealth without understanding these principles will quickly lose it. Wealth is ultimately built by behavior, not by luck or income. The wealthy parent teaches the child to pay themselves first, budget ruthlessly, increase capability, and invest wisely. This education is worth more than the inheritance itself. Wealth that endures across generations is built on principles, not on passing down money. When you teach your children these habits, you create the capacity for them to build their own wealth regardless of circumstances. Your action: if you have children or younger people in your life, teach them one financial principle this month. Start their wealth-building education early. The Richest Man in Babylon's timeless wisdom remains relevant because human nature does not change. Regardless of how much you earn, the same principles determine whether you become wealthy or remain broke. Pay yourself first, invest wisely, avoid bad debt, increase your capability, and protect your wealth. These habits compound into financial security and independence that eventually become financial freedom. You shift from needing income to wanting income. That transition defines the wealthy life. The book teaches that anyone can build wealth, not through inheritance, not through luck, but through discipline. You have the power to build wealth starting today. Thanks for listening to Audiobook Bay.